high school football is something special. So when you miss out on it 2 years in a row and you only got one shot to make it back, you have no choice but to make it count.
For the seniors on the 2007 Hilton Cadets football team, there was only one shot remaining: to make lifelong memories, set a legacy, and most importantly, to learn lessons that last a lifetime. In order to learn those lessons, they had to remember how they got there.
I became interested in football in elementary school. I had a lot of friends that played Pop Warner, so of course I wanted to play Pop Warner too, but I never could. I was too big to play with my age group, so I would have had to play. I would have had to play with kids 2 or 3 years older than me, which Marge just would not allow.
Greg Earnhardt never played organized football until 7th grade. He quickly developed into a limber lineman with a bright future in red, black, and white.
Number 50, Tyler Diedrich.
Tyler Diedrich's career followed the opposite trajectory, beginning as a stout nose tackle for the Hilton Raiders C team in 1999.
I loved football when I was growing up. My dad would just started throwing the ball to me in the basement, playing catch all the time.
Pretty much right away I made an impact. I was a starter by the third game of the season on defense at nose tackle for the Hilton Raiders, and then eventually I was a starter on both sides of the ball. This was my first year playing football. I came right and I had a great season my very first year playing football.
Young Joe Peachy loved football too, but never signed up to wear the silver and black. His career began without pads.
They never let my brother play because he was always too big. So I kind of was just like, I'm not going to play either. There was really no reason why I didn't play other than that.
I am happy the way I went. I played flag football for the Hilton Parma Recreation, and I had a lot of fun doing that. My dad was a coach. I played with future real good friends of mine.
He could go all the way.
Earnhardt, Diedrich, and Peachy all ended up on the same roster in the same position group in 2002 on the Hilton Cadets modified team. Earnhardt immediately became a starter and got called up to the freshman team as an 8th grader and JV as a freshman. Peachy became a regular in the lineup in 8th grade, but had a tough act to follow. His brother Mike was an all-county lineman for Hilton who graduated in 2005 and went on to play in college.
So he was one of the better players in Hilton, and he wore 72, so I thought going into playing high school football that I needed to play offensive lineman and I needed to wear the number 72. My dad had been pleading me to switch positions. He's like, Joe, play fullback, play tight end, play something where you can get the ball in your hands.
Peachy switched to tight end and defensive end and became the starter by his sophomore year on JV. That didn't protect him from being a punching bag for some of his friends.
Go forward, you idiot.
I wouldn't say a burden because I was extremely proud of my brother.
He was really good at football, and I was so proud of him. And a lot of times, it was almost expected that I would match that ability in football. And I think I thought I was pretty good. A lot of my friends did say, "Oh, Joe, the only reason why you're starting is because your last name's Peachy. You know, your brother was so good at football. Now the coaches expect you to be this good at football, so that's the only reason why you're starting." And that really did piss me off. And that kind of lit my fire in my belly to kind of prove them wrong.
I always gave him a very hard time, mostly because I was jealous of him. I was jealous of everyone else who was out there playing.
Swing up, dummy.
I gave him a hard time about every little thing, and he was my best friend.
Yeah, not even close. Watch the fake.
Diedrich had a difficult time replicating the success of his Raider days. He had difficulty finding playing time in middle school, but made the most of his opportunities when given, registering 7 sacks in the final 3 games of 8th grade.
And I just turned to the sidelines and I'm like, why don't I play? Why don't I play more? Maybe I was a little full of myself, but I mean, I knew I could do it. I knew I was better than a lot of guys who were out there.
And there they are, 50 and 44, waiting for their big chance to play.
Well, I was a gamer, as they say in the business.
And he's giving us the sign.
While teammates like Earnhardt and Peachy hit the weight room, Diedrich remained fruitlessly confident in his own abilities.
I just kind of went through the motions and kind of figured, okay, they'll realize it someday.
Diedrich's game action was reserved for garbage time by the end of freshman year. He entered his senior year hopeful for at least a spot on special teams.
Again, I thought, I know I can have some role on this team. I can help out in some way, and I was really hoping that even if it's as little as playing on the kickoff team, the kickoff return team, I just want to be out there. I want people to see that I really did play football all these years, and I really, was decent. I wasn't just along for the ride.
But I vividly remember one day in the weight room, I was just kind of horsing around as per usual, and I remember somebody going, "I figured you out, Chester." I think that should have been a sign right there. Things weren't going to go as I had hoped they were. He called me Chester.
Diedrich will go on to appear in only 3 games his senior year.
So I have no one to blame but myself when it comes down to it. I know I could have made a difference out there, but I didn't put in the work I needed to.
Peachy's big moment to make a name for himself came during a JV game in 2005.
The most disappointing thing that ever happened to me on the football field, and I think this is where there's a moment, everyone's got that moment where they're like, you just have fun with it. And it was against Irondequoit, and it was a 9-27 Redskin pass, which is it's a play action pass. So the safety's going to jump, and every time the tight end's going to be wide open because I'm running a flag route. Everything I just said happened in the play. I was wide open. Quarterback threw it perfectly. Went right through my hands. And I was just like, why? I was almost like, why is this happening to me? Why did I deserve that to happen? I mean, I finally got my moment in the sun, and I went right through my hands.
Earnhardt was a musically inclined straight-A student in the top 10 of his class, watching that game from the sideline. He didn't get to see the field on JV as a sophomore due to an ACL injury the previous spring while playing lacrosse. He battled back to become one of the 2 juniors to earn a starting spot on varsity in 2006, but his comeback season ended just moments after it started.
It was the first offensive possession of the game. I'd been in the game for about 4 plays, and we were running a power off tackle to the right. I was at left tackle, so my job was to chip the end and then proceed up to block a linebacker. So I came up, I met the linebacker, and I tried to hit him, and I had most of my weight on my right leg, and then I just felt it give out, and I fell over sideways, and I kind of knew I'd screwed it up again, but I didn't want to tell myself that I'd just done the same thing I'd done about a year prior.
Earnhardt tore his other ACL. He was out for the year again.
So part of me kind of felt like I let the team down. I knew how much more work it was going to take and that I wouldn't be playing the game I loved for yet another year. So, I just started crying there, and it cried for a couple hours.
Earnhardt used the second injury as motivation, getting into the best shape he'd ever been in to get back on the field for one final season.
I wanted it real bad. I mean, I knew I could do it. I had done it once before, but when you get knocked down, you just got to get up again.
Now a team captain, Earnhardt returned to lead the cadets onto the field for the 2007 season opener against Pittsford.
I really wasn't too amped up. I guess maybe the butterflies kind of kept me from going crazy, but I really didn't know what was going to happen. That, and we had a huge breakfast at HFR, so I was a little cramped up pretty good.
For Peachy and all but one of his teammates, who played sparingly the previous year, playing an entire game of varsity football was a new experience.
Biggest thing that I remember from that game was, wow, I'm really tired after this game. Because I had never really played a full game.
Outside expectations weren't high for the cadets. Running back Brett Clark was the only senior who had made it through an entire varsity game as a starter.
Great, we didn't do as well as we should have. I think a lot of guys had a lot of jitters because a lot of guys were making their first start on a varsity football team.
The senior-laden 2006 team finished 6-3, leaving behind a group that had gone a combined 5-11 on freshmen in JV.
Winds up sprinting 67 yards for the score. Cadets win big.
And going into that season, even though a lot of other people didn't think we'd be that good, we knew we were a tough team. We had smart guys. We had strong guys. And I knew that Coach Lapani was going to get the best out of it, because that's what he does just about every year.
The Cadets took an early 7-0 lead and outplayed the Panthers for much of the game. But inexperience reared its ugly head as Hilton turned the ball over 6 times en route to a 14-7 loss.
I didn't really think that they were a better team than we were. They were big, but they were nothing special. I think we just, at that point in the season, we still didn't really know what kind of team we were. We only had one kid on our team who had played more than a quarter of varsity football. So it was kind of a measuring stick for us. We had to find out who we were and where we were.
The good news was Earnhardt made it through his first football game unscathed in 3 years. Not that his previous injuries were a distraction.
I wasn't really worried about getting hurt again because, I guess I had nothing to lose. I feel like once I got through that first game, I knew I'd be okay. My knees felt real good.
Following the turnover-filled season opening loss, Coach Rich Lapani made a change at quarterback for Week 2 at Webster Thomas, starting senior Jordan Hernandez in place of sophomore Duel Smith.
You always knew Duel was going to be a star. He was going to be a big name to watch out for once he got up to high school, because his brothers were very good players too, two of the best players Hilton's ever had. I was still somewhat surprised he was on the team. Like before, we've got our quarterback already. I know he's good, but I know Duel's good, but we've got our quarterback already.
I thought they were two great quarterbacks. They both offered different things to the table. I mean, Jordan was, I'd say, a better athlete, a little bit smarter. Duel was a better quarterback, had a better arm.
But Smith had struggled in his varsity debut against Pittsford, throwing 4 interceptions.
He threw like 4 picks. And I was like, okay, this kid, I don't know. Because if this is how the year's going to be, this is not going to be fun.
And when Jordan got the starting spot in the Thomas game, I was like, okay, maybe, hopefully he switches it up. Brings a little something else to our team, maybe we get a W.
Hernandez had Hilton off to a fast start against Thomas with a 14-0 lead and knocking on the door to making a 3-score game when he threw a costly interception in the end zone. The Titans rallied behind Burley quarterback Robert Eskander to take the lead in a heated game marred by penalty flags.
It was a hot day, and that game dragged on for a few hours because there were penalties after just about every other play, and it was mostly on them. They were the dirtiest team we ever faced by far.
Webster Thomas was kind of a cheap team, I thought. They were cheap shotting everybody all over the field. I think that was a very winnable game, but we kind of lost it for ourselves.
Fortunately, they ended up getting theirs come sectional time, but still we should have won that game. We really let it get away from us.
The Cadets once again provided their own undoing, turning the ball over 5 more times. After throwing 2 interceptions, Hernandez left the game due to injury with a 17-13 lead. Smith entered the game and threw 2 more interceptions as the Cadets fell 26-17.
Duel came in after Jordan got hurt, and he did better. He still threw a lot of picks, but I remember he had his head held, and I picked him up. I was like, come on, man, you can do this. And next week, he showed us he could play.
The Cadets would only turn the ball over 4 more times the rest of the season.